The memories come back in flashes, and each one cuts deeper than the last. I can still feel the cold grip of fear that wrapped around me the night I ran. It wasn't the first time he'd come home drunk, but it was the first time I couldn't stand it anymore. My father's slurred voice echoed through the walls, and I could hear the cracks in my mother's silence, the way she'd take the hits without a word. She never fought back, she just endured. I remember the exact moment when everything broke. I had been hiding in my room trying to drown out the shouting, the banging, the sound of things being thrown against the walls. I knew what would happen next. He was going to hit her. He always did. It was a pattern. But this time, he wasn't just angry with her. He was angry with me too. The door to my room slammed open. I never even heard him coming. His breath smelled like whiskey, thick and suffocating, and before I could react, his hand grabbed my wrist, pulling me out of my safe space. "Get up," he growled. His voice was a low, dangerous growl. "You're coming with me." I didn't have time to protest. He was dragging me through the house, the floors creaking under our feet, his grip tight and unforgiving. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My voice felt trapped, caught somewhere deep inside me. And then, just like that, I was outside, on the cold concrete of the driveway, the chill of the night biting at my skin. The park was close by, just a few blocks down. I didn't even think, I just ran. The streetlights blurred as I moved past them, each step taking me farther away from the place I had once called home. My heart was pounding in my chest, my breath coming out in ragged gasps. The tears blurred my vision, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. I was finally free, but it felt like the world was closing in on me all the same. I could still hear the echo of my father's voice, still feel the sting of his anger, and somewhere deep down, a part of me couldn't let go. A part of me still felt like I was leaving something behind. It wasn't just the house, or the broken windows, or the faded walls. It was everything. It was my mother's silent suffering, my father's rage, the life I had known. All of it felt like it was chained to me, holding me back even as I ran. I reached the park, my breath steadying as I slowed to a walk. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the empty swings and benches. I could hear the distant sound of cars passing, but otherwise the park was quiet, peaceful even. But peace wasn't something I knew, not really. I sat on a bench, my hands shaking as I hugged them to my chest. It was the first time I was truly alone, and the weight of it was crushing. I'd always felt like I was living in someone else's shadow, like I was just a bystander to my own life. But here, in this empty park, it was different. I had made a choice. I had left. I was on my own now. But was it freedom, or was it just another kind of prison? I closed my eyes, the weight of the world pressing down on me. I could still feel the warmth of my mother's arms, even though I hadn't felt them in years. I could still see her standing there, a silent witness to everything, always so small, always so fragile. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to fix everything. But I knew I couldn't. Not then, not now. When I opened my eyes, I saw a figure approaching from the shadows. I stiffened, instantly wary. It was a man, someone I didn't recognize, but there was something about the way he moved that made me pause. He wasn't threatening, not in the way my father had been, but the wariness in me refused to let go. I had learned long ago that people couldn't be trusted. My parents had shown me that. They had taught me that trust was something to be given sparingly, and even then it was a dangerous thing to offer. But this man, he looked kind. His eyes were soft, and he didn't seem to have any ill intentions. Yet I couldn't let myself believe it. Not yet. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle, but laced with concern. "I saw you sitting here alone, and you don't look too good." I could feel the weight of his gaze on me, like he was trying to see into me, to understand what I was going through. It was too much. I turned away, pulling my knees up to my chest, hiding my face in the folds of my arms. "I'm fine," I muttered, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. They were a lie. I wasn't fine, but I couldn't let him see that. I couldn't let anyone see how broken I really was. "You don't look fine," he said softly, his voice not judgmental, just honest. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." I heard him walk away, but his words lingered in the air. They hung there, like a promise, like a lifeline that I didn't know how to grab onto. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust anyone, not anymore. The only person I could rely on was me, and that thought, as lonely as it was, felt like the only truth I could hold on to. For the first time in my life, I realized that my survival didn't depend on anyone else. It depended on me, and maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. But even as I made that promise to myself, the scars of my past were still there, and they weren't so easily forgotten. Each step I took away from my family felt like it was pulling me further from the person I used to be. But at the same time, it was pulling me closer to something I had never allowed myself to see before, the possibility of a life that was mine. It wasn't easy stepping into the world after everything that had happened, but I told myself that I had no choice. I couldn't go back to the life I had known. I couldn't be the person I used to be, the one who ran and hid whenever things got too hard. No, I was determined to make something of myself. I was going to find my place in this world, even if it meant doing it alone. I found a job at a small office, handling administrative tasks. It wasn't glamorous, but it was enough. I'd wake up early, get dressed in clothes that felt like a uniform, professional, but nothing more than that. There was a kind of cold comfort in the routine. I would go through the motions, do my job, go home, and do it all again the next day. For a while, that was enough, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Work became my escape, my way of proving to myself that I was capable of more than what I had been given. It wasn't just about the paycheck. It was about showing the world, and more importantly, showing myself that I was worth something. I wanted to be independent, to prove that I wasn't like my parents. I wasn't weak. I wasn't helpless. I had dreams too. There were moments when I thought I was getting somewhere. I was promoted, given more responsibilities. My boss even complimented me on my work. But there was always this nagging feeling that it wasn't enough. No matter how much I achieved, it never seemed to make me feel whole. I'd come home to an empty apartment and the silence would swallow me whole. I would lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was it. Was this the life I had fought for? Was this the life that would make me happy? I began to seek comfort in new people. I met a colleague, Alex, who seemed different. He was warm, easy to talk to, and he made me laugh. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could connect with someone. He listened to me in a way that no one had before. We would talk for hours after work, sharing stories about our past, our hopes for the future. It felt like a lifeline, something to cling to. But as with everything in my life, nothing came easy. It started small at first, just little disagreements here and there, but soon it became clear that Alex and I weren't on the same page. His presence in my life began to stir up old fears, fears that I thought I had buried long ago. I wanted so badly for things to work out, for us to be a team, but every time I felt like I was getting closer to him, I would find myself pulling away. It wasn't long before the tension between us spilled over into my personal life. I would come home from work exhausted, only to find myself caught in an argument with him about something insignificant. I'd try to explain myself, but nothing I said seemed to matter. And the worst part, I realized that I was becoming just like my parents. I was caught in this cycle of anger and regret, unable to break free. At work, the frustration only deepened. Despite my promotion and the recognition I'd received, it was as if none of it mattered. My ideas were constantly overlooked, my achievements dismissed. The more I tried to prove myself, the more invisible I felt. It was as if I was screaming into a void and no one was listening. I couldn't understand it. How could I give everything I had and still feel like I was failing? I tried to push through, but the weight of it all was becoming too much. The person I thought I was becoming, the strong, independent woman, felt so far away. I was drowning in my own uncertainty, unsure if I had the strength to keep going. Each failure felt like a confirmation of everything I feared. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't meant to be happy. And then I'd look at Alex. I'd see his smile, his laugh, the way he made me feel like I wasn't alone. And I'd think that maybe he was the answer. But even then, I was terrified, because with every step closer I took to him, I knew that I was giving a piece of myself away. The problem wasn't just the mistakes I was making in my personal life or the frustration at work. The problem was me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was always running, always searching for something I couldn't quite define. It felt like happiness, true happiness, was a distant dream, one that was always just out of reach. As I sat in my apartment that night, staring at the walls that felt so much colder than they had before, I realized how far I had come, but I also realized that it wasn't enough. I had built a life, yes, but I had built it on a foundation of cracks. Every time I thought I was close to finding peace, I found myself pulled back into the chaos. I thought I wanted independence, but what I really wanted was connection. I thought I was strong enough to do this on my own, but I had never truly learned how to let people in. And now I was paying the price. I didn't know where I was going anymore, but the one thing I was sure of was that I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. I couldn't keep burying my doubts, my fears, and my regrets under a layer of success and false smiles. Something had to change. But what? And how? I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart heavy with the weight of everything I had lost, and everything I still hadn't found. Becoming a mother changed everything. It was as if the world had suddenly shifted beneath my feet and I was forced to adjust, to find new footing. When I first held my son in my arms, it felt like my heart was going to burst. He was tiny, fragile, and so innocent, and in that moment I made a promise to him that I would give him everything I had never had. I would protect him, love him, and raise him in a way that was different from the way I had been raised. I would be the mother I never had. But no one ever tells you how hard that is. No one tells you how difficult it is to love someone so completely, yet feel so utterly lost in the process of trying to do everything right. I thought I had it figured out at first. I read every book on parenting, joined every parenting group, and tried to surround myself with people who seemed to have all the answers. But nothing prepared me for the overwhelming weight of it. Every decision felt like it carried the weight of the world. Should I breastfeed longer? Should I introduce solids at a certain age? Was he developing at the right rate? Was I being too overprotective, too lenient? It was constant, this internal dialogue, this fear that I was somehow failing him before he even had a chance to grow. Every time I looked at him, I saw my own shortcomings reflected in his face. I saw the mistakes my parents had made with me, and I promised myself I wouldn't make them. But the pressure to be perfect was suffocating. It was as if I had to be everything at once: the caring, understanding mother, the disciplinarian, the provider, the friend, and I didn't know how to balance it all. There was no handbook for this, no clear instructions on how to navigate the sea of fear, doubt, and love that came with motherhood. I would sit in his nursery at night watching him sleep, and I would wonder if I was enough for him. Was I doing this right? Would he grow up and remember the nights I spent soothing him, or would he remember the moments when I was too tired, too overwhelmed to give him the attention he deserved? The constant cycle of doubt and guilt gnawed at me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was always falling short. But despite all the struggles, there were moments of joy too. The way his face would light up when he saw me, the sound of his little giggle as I tickled him, the way he reached for my hand as he took his first steps. Those moments made it all worth it. They were a reminder that, despite everything, I was doing something right. But it wasn't long before things started to change. As my son grew older, I started to notice small things that worried me. He wasn't always the happy, easygoing child I had imagined. He would have temper tantrums, act out in ways I didn't know how to handle. I could feel my frustration building, the same frustration I had experienced as a child when I didn't understand my parents' expectations. But I had promised myself that I wouldn't repeat their mistakes. I wouldn't be like them, so I pushed harder. I tried to be more patient, more understanding, but it felt like I was always one step behind him, trying to fix something that I couldn't quite understand. And then, the first big conflict happened. It started with something small, a disagreement over something insignificant, like which TV show to watch. But before I knew it, it had spiraled out of control. He refused to listen to me, and I couldn't understand why. Why wasn't he doing what I asked? Why was he so stubborn? Why couldn't he just follow the rules I set for him? I could feel the frustration rising within me, the same way I had felt when I was a child, trying to make sense of my parents' rules. But I wasn't my parents. I couldn't be like them. I couldn't let this conflict destroy what we had built. But no matter how hard I tried, nothing seemed to work. The more I pushed, the more he resisted. It wasn't just about the conflict, it was about the fear. The fear that I was losing control, that I was failing as a mother. And as much as I tried to convince myself that I was doing the best I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I wasn't. Maybe I wasn't the mother I wanted to be. The strain began to show in my marriage as well. My husband and I, who had always been partners, began to clash over how to handle our son. He would tell me I was being too hard on him, that I needed to loosen up, but I couldn't help it. I couldn't let go. I had to make sure everything was perfect for him, just like I had promised. And yet, no matter how hard I tried, things only seemed to get worse. We argued more often, and it became clear that we were no longer on the same page. My ideal of a perfect family, the one I had built in my mind, was crumbling, and I didn't know how to fix it. I tried to reach out for support. I made an appointment with a therapist, hoping that someone would help me understand why I couldn't get it right. But when I arrived, I was met with indifference. The therapist didn't seem to understand me, didn't seem to get the depth of what I was going through. She offered general advice, but nothing that felt real, nothing that could help me navigate the maze of my own fears and doubts. I was left feeling more alone than ever, and then I turned to my friends. But they, too, seemed to have their own lives, their own problems. They didn't understand what it was like to feel like you were constantly failing. They didn't understand the pressure to be perfect, the fear that you were damaging your child, that you were repeating the same mistakes that had been made with you. It was in those moments when I felt like no one understood that the isolation set in. I was trying so hard to be the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect woman, but no matter how hard I tried, it felt like nothing was enough. And as I looked at my son, I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. I couldn't control everything. I couldn't make his life perfect, just like I couldn't make mine perfect. But as much as that scared me, it also made me realize something important. Maybe perfection wasn't the goal. Maybe the goal was just to keep trying, to love him even when I didn't have all the answers, and to let him find his own way, even if it meant stepping back and letting go, because maybe, just maybe, that was the kind of mother I needed to be. There are moments when the past creeps in, lingering like a shadow just behind me, always there, always watching. It's hard to escape something that has shaped you for so long. Even harder when it's the very thing that keeps pulling you back every time you try to move forward. I've spent years trying to rebuild my life, but no matter how many new walls I construct, no matter how many bright windows I open, the shadow of my past never quite disappears. I find myself sitting quietly in my living room, the same room where I've spent countless nights awake, questioning my choices, wondering if I'm ever truly free. I think back to my youth, to the time when I made the decision to leave everything behind, my family, the pain, the suffocating fear of the life I was born into. I had dreams back then, dreams of something better, a life that wasn't tied to the wreckage of my past. But the thing about dreams is that they're often far from the reality that stares back at you when you wake up. I had a chance to change everything once, to break free from the chains of my upbringing, to build a future for myself that wasn't shackled to the brokenness of my childhood. But I hesitated. I was afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid that I wasn't strong enough to step into the life I dreamed of. I remember standing at the crossroads, feeling the weight of my decision, the opportunity slipping through my fingers like sand. I could have left, could have gone anywhere, could have pursued something more. But I stayed. I stayed because I didn't know how to be anything else. I didn't know how to let go of the past that was so tightly woven into the fabric of who I was. Now, as I sit here with my son in front of me, I see him struggling in the same way. He's growing up, becoming someone else, and it scares me. His eyes, so full of curiosity and uncertainty, remind me of my own when I was his age, and yet he's pulling away from me, just as I once pulled away from everyone else. I can feel the distance between us growing with every passing day, and no matter how much I try to hold on to him, to guide him the way I think he needs, it feels like my grip is slipping. It's as if he's standing at the same crossroads I once stood at, and I don't know if he's ready to make the decision to leave behind everything he's known. I don't know if he can. I want to protect him, to shield him from the pain that I experienced, but in doing so, I can feel myself becoming suffocating, overbearing. I see him retreat into himself, shutting me out as I try to pull him closer. The memories of my own childhood, my own fear, haunt me in these moments. I can't bear the thought of him making the same mistakes I did, of him getting trapped in the same cycle of pain. But at the same time, I know that I can't control everything. I can't protect him from the world forever. It's a constant battle inside me. I want to be the mother who gives him everything I never had, but I also need him to find his own way, to make his own mistakes, to discover who he is on his own terms. But what if he's not ready? What if he needs more from me, more than I can give? And what if in my attempt to protect him, I'm pushing him further away? One evening, while walking through the park, I run into someone from my past. It's Alex, the man I could have built a life with had things been different. He's standing there with his wife and 2 children, a family he's built while I've been stuck in this cycle of trying to fix everything. For a moment, I feel a pang of regret, a reminder of what I could have had. But then I see his smile, and I realize that I can't go back. The past is gone, the opportunities are gone, and the life I might have had with him is a ghost of what could have been. We exchange a few words, polite small talk, but I can't help but feel the weight of it all. The choices I've made, the paths I've taken, the lives I've let slip away. There's a moment where I wonder if I've made the right choices, if I've done everything I could. But then I look at my son, and I know that I haven't given up yet. There's still time to make a difference. There's still time to protect him from the mistakes I made. But I'm faced with another decision, a decision I never thought I would have to make. My son is becoming more distant, more rebellious. He's hanging out with the wrong crowd, people who have no regard for the values I've tried so hard to instill in him. I've talked to him about it, tried to explain why I don't want him associating with them. But it's like talking to a wall. He doesn't understand, and the fear begins to build inside me again, the fear that I can't protect him, that I'm losing him to the world, just like I lost myself all those years ago. I can feel the tension rising, and I know what I have to do. I have to make a decision, even though it feels like it's ripping my heart out. I have to send him away to another city, to live with relatives where he can escape the influences that are pulling him down. I hope it will help, hope that the distance will give him a chance to figure things out. But as I make this decision, I feel the weight of it all. I'm sending him away, and in doing so, I feel like I'm losing him even more. I'm afraid that this is the final straw, that once he's gone, he'll never come back. And as I stand there, on the edge of this decision, I'm left with the same questions that have haunted me for years. Am I doing the right thing? Am I giving him the chance he needs? Or am I just pushing him away, just like I did to everyone else? I don't have the answers. All I have are the shadows of the past and the hope that somehow, this time, I can get it right. The tension between my son and me has reached a breaking point, and every day feels like I'm watching him slip further away, beyond my reach. It's as if the bond we once shared has started to disintegrate, leaving only fragments of what we used to be. I can still remember the nights when he would crawl into bed with me after a bad dream, or the times we'd share quiet moments, just us against the world. But now, those memories seem distant, fading away as I watch him push me further and further from his life. I try with everything in me to maintain control. I tell myself that if I can just be more patient, if I can just give him the right kind of support, he'll come around, but it's not working. His anger has been growing, his behavior more unpredictable. He snaps at me over the smallest things, slams doors when he's frustrated, and retreats into himself when I try to reach out. It's like I'm speaking a language he doesn't understand. And no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to communicate with him anymore. The way he looks at me now is different, like I'm a stranger, someone he no longer recognizes. His eyes, once filled with innocence and curiosity, now hold nothing but defiance and frustration. It breaks my heart to see him like this, to see him change before my eyes, becoming someone I don't know. I want to reach him, to pull him back from the edge, but every time I try, it feels like I'm pushing him further away. I remember the days when I thought I could control everything, when I thought I could protect him from the world. But now I see how futile that has been. I can't control him. I can't control his choices or his path, no matter how much I try. And that thought, that realization, terrifies me. It's the same fear I felt growing up, the fear that I was never in control of my own life, that everything was always slipping away from me, beyond my grasp. The more I try to fix things, the worse they get. I can feel my frustration bubbling to the surface, but I hold it in. I tell myself to be calm, to be patient, to give him space. But how do you give someone space when you're so afraid of losing them? How do you let go when every part of you is screaming to hold on tighter? Then, one night, after another argument, it happens. I come home from work to find a note on the kitchen table. My heart sinks as I read the words that feel like a punch to the gut. He's leaving. He's decided to live on his own, to take control of his life as if he's already made up his mind about what kind of person he wants to be. I can feel my breath catch in my chest, my hands shaking as I clutch the note. He's not even asking for my permission, not even giving me the chance to understand why he's doing this. He's just gone. And with that, something inside me breaks. All the control I thought I had, all the plans I thought would keep us together, are suddenly gone. In one moment, I've lost him. I try to convince myself that this is what he needs, that it's good for him, that he's growing up and finding his independence. But the truth is, it feels like a failure. I've failed him. I've failed as a mother, as someone who was supposed to guide him, protect him, and show him the way. I can't help but wonder, where did I go wrong? Was I too strict, too distant? Was I not enough for him? In the days that follow, the emptiness is suffocating. The house feels cold, so much quieter without him. The silence is unbearable, a constant reminder that he's not here. I try to distract myself with work, but it doesn't work. The guilt eats at me, gnawing away at every moment. I want to call him, to reach out, to tell him I love him, but I'm not sure if he'll even pick up. I'm not sure if he even wants to hear from me. I decide I need help. I need someone to help me make sense of all this. I can't do it alone anymore. I make an appointment with a therapist, hoping that they'll be able to give me some answers, help me find a way to fix what's broken. But when I sit across from her, I realize something that I hadn't fully understood before. I don't know if anyone can fix this. Not even a professional. The therapist listens, nods, and offers suggestions, but nothing feels right. Nothing feels like it's going to bring my son back. Nothing feels like it's going to make things better. She talks about boundaries, about understanding, about giving him space, but all I hear is a reminder that I can't control him, that I can't fix what's wrong. And it feels like another failure. Another moment where I've been told that all my efforts, all my love, haven't been enough. I leave her office feeling more lost than ever. The weight of it all presses down on me, and I can't breathe. I wanted answers, solutions. I wanted something to hold on to. But all I have is this empty feeling, this sense of helplessness that won't go away. And then I get a call. It's from my son. For a moment, I freeze. I wonder if this is the moment he's going to come back, if he's realized how much I care, how much I need him. But when I answer the phone, his voice is distant, almost cold. He says he's fine, that he's adjusting to his new life. He thanks me for everything, says goodbye, and hangs up. That's it. He's gone. And all I can do is sit there, the phone still pressed to my ear, wondering if this is what I've been waiting for, or if it's just the final confirmation that I've lost him for good. The phone call comes in the middle of the night. I was asleep, but the shrill ring cuts through the quiet like a knife. My heart skips a beat as I reach for the phone, already sensing that something is wrong. The moment I pick it up, I can hear the tremble in the voice on the other end, and my blood runs cold. "Ma'am, are you the mother of Mark Evans?" Yes, I am," I reply, my voice shaky, uncertain. As dread begins to creep into my chest, there's a pause on the other end, and then the words come, each one a punch to my gut, each one breaking a little piece of me. I'm so sorry to inform you. Your son has been in an accident. He didn't make it. I can feel the world tilt, like everything is shifting around me, and I can't hold on anymore. The air feels thin, and my breath comes in short, shallow gasps. My mind is screaming, but my body can't seem to react. It's like I've stopped existing, like my entire life has been reduced to this one horrible moment. What? I managed to whisper, the words barely leaving my lips. He was involved in a car crash late last night. It was a fatal accident. We're so sorry. The voice continues, but I can't hear it anymore. The words blur together, and all I can think of is my son, the boy I couldn't save, the boy I couldn't keep from making the same mistakes I made. The same mistakes that brought him to this moment. I failed him. I failed to protect him from the world, from himself, and now he's gone. The phone slips from my hand and clatters to the floor, but I don't move to pick it up. I just sit there, paralyzed in the empty silence of the room. How did it come to this? How did we get here? I think back to all those nights we fought, all those moments where I tried to keep him from making the wrong choices, from falling into the same traps I did. But I couldn't stop him. I couldn't stop his rebellion, his anger, his need to prove that he could make his own decisions. And now it's too late. Now there's nothing I can do. Tears start to fall, but they don't feel real. It's as if I'm in a dream, in a world that's both too close and too far away. How could this be happening? How could I have failed him so completely? I get up, my legs unsteady, and I stumble to the window. I look out into the night and I try to imagine a world where my son is still alive, where he's safe and happy. But it's gone. That world is gone. I think of the last time I saw him, the last time we spoke, the last time he walked out of the house, angry and determined to live his life on his terms. And I wonder deep down if I could have done more to help him, if I could have made him see how much I cared, how much I wanted him to be safe, if I could have done anything to stop this. But it's too late. He's gone. I can't stop the wave of guilt that crashes over me. It's suffocating, drowning me in its weight. I should have done more. I should have been there more. I should have listened more. I should have fought harder for him. I should have been a better mother. I should have been more. I walk to the living room and sit down, my hands shaking as I try to make sense of the loss. But there is no sense. There is no logic in this. There is only pain, only emptiness. And then something shifts inside me. A painful realization seeps in. It's not just the loss of my son that's tearing me apart. It's the realization that this is my fault too. I look back on my life, on the choices I made, on the mistakes I never let go of, the fear, the doubts, the inability to let go of control. It all played a part in this moment. My own struggles, my own failures, my own fears, they shaped him too. They shaped his decisions, his actions, his choices. I wanted to protect him, but I couldn't. And in trying to protect him, I pushed him further away. I tried to make him something he wasn't ready to be, and in doing so, I lost him. I didn't know how to guide him through this world without suffocating him with my own brokenness. I should have been stronger. I should have been braver. I should have let go. But now all that's left is the pain. The unrelenting, soul-crushing pain that comes from knowing that I couldn't save him, that I couldn't protect him from the world, from his own mistakes, from his own need to prove himself. And as I sit there in the dark, in the aftermath of the worst possible thing that could ever happen, I know that there's no way to undo this. There's no way to bring him back, no way to fix the mistakes we made. There's only the realization that my son is gone, and all I have left are the memories of what could have been. I don't know how to move on from this. I don't know how to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart and try to make sense of it all, but I know that I have to. I have to find a way to live with this, to accept it, no matter how much it tears me apart, because that's what he would have wanted, to live, to survive, and somehow I have to keep going, even if I don't know how, even if the pain feels like it will never end. I have to keep going, for him, for me, for us. The weight of my grief didn't disappear with time. It didn't fade in the quiet moments when I thought I was beginning to heal. It never truly left me. It wasn't something I could outrun or push to the side, but as the days and weeks passed, something inside me shifted. It wasn't immediate, it wasn't a single moment of clarity, but slowly I began to realize that the deep ache in my chest, the same ache that had consumed me since my son's death, could be channeled into something else, something that could help others and maybe, just maybe, help me too. I began volunteering at a support group for parents who had lost children. At first, I wasn't sure what I was doing there. I didn't think I could possibly help anyone. I didn't feel like I had anything to offer. But when I walked into that room full of other grieving parents, I realized something profound. I wasn't alone. And I could help, even if only by listening, by showing them that I understood the depth of their pain. I could share my story not to garner sympathy, but to offer a small sliver of understanding in a world that often feels too empty to hold the weight of loss. I remember the first time I spoke in that group. My hands shook and my voice faltered, but I spoke anyway. I told them about my son, about the love I had for him, about the guilt I carried, and about how I had tried with all my heart to keep him safe. I saw the faces of the other parents, their eyes wide with recognition, their own pain reflected in my words. And in that moment, something inside me softened. The wall I had built around my heart, the one I thought would never crumble, started to crack. I wasn't the only one who felt this loss. I wasn't the only one who struggled with guilt, who fought against the reality that nothing I did could bring my son back. In those meetings, I learned something I hadn't expected. Healing doesn't come from erasing the pain. It comes from sharing it, from letting others carry it with you for a while. It comes from allowing yourself to feel, to be vulnerable, to admit that you are broken, and that it's okay to be broken. Over time, I began to find comfort in those shared stories. Every tear shed, every memory shared, every hand held, those were the things that started to heal me. They gave me the strength to face another day, to face the reality of my loss without letting it completely consume me. And then something shifted again. I found myself wanting to do more. The desire to help others grew, and with it came a new sense of purpose. I wasn't just helping parents who had lost their children, I was helping myself. But I also began to think about the young people in my life, the ones who were still on the edge of making decisions that could change the course of their futures. I had seen the consequences of those decisions in my own life and in my son's. I had seen how one mistake could send everything spiraling out of control. I decided I wanted to be a mentor. I wanted to speak to young people, to share my story, to show them that life wasn't just about the mistakes you made, but also about the choices you could still make. I wanted to help them understand that there was always another chance, that they didn't have to fall into the same traps I did, that even when you think you're too far gone, there's always a way back. I knew that my pain, my loss, could serve as a warning, not just for my son, but for others. I wanted to be the voice of reason, the person who could stand at the edge of despair and offer a way out, a way forward. I began working with youth programs, helping to guide young people who were struggling, who felt lost, who thought they didn't have a future. And in doing that, I found a part of myself that I had lost. I found purpose again. I found hope. It wasn't easy. It wasn't perfect. But every day I felt like I was moving closer to the person I wanted to be, the person I thought I had lost forever. And in those quiet moments when I would sit alone at the end of the day, I would think about my son. I would think about the mistakes I made, the things I wished I had done differently. But now, I also thought about how I was changing, how I was growing, how my son's life, his death, had become the catalyst for something greater than I could have imagined. I had always thought that healing meant forgetting, but now I knew that healing meant remembering, acknowledging the pain, and using it to build something new. I wasn't perfect, and I never would be, but I was stronger now. I was finding peace, slowly, in the work I was doing, in the lives I was touching, and in the realization that even after the greatest of tragedies, there was still a way forward. I had to accept that my son was gone, that there was nothing I could do to bring him back. But I also had to accept that I was still here, that I still had something to offer the world, and in helping others, I was learning to help myself. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy. It never was. But I had learned that even in the darkest moments, there is a chance for light. Even in the aftermath of loss, there is a way to rebuild, to heal, and to move forward. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had the strength to do just that. I couldn't change the past. I couldn't undo the mistakes I had made, but I could make a difference now in the present. And that, in itself, was a kind of redemption. It was a long road ahead, but it was mine to walk. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid.